I recently came across a chart that shocked the hell out of me because what it showed seemed almost incomprehensible in the United States. I made my own version of the data, which you could see on your screen, and what this shows is the percentage of American adults who absolutely, positively have no doubt whatsoever that God exists. And you can see that over the years, the number has gotten lower and lower. On the left side, you could see how nearly 3 decades ago, in 1993, that number was 65%. But it's only decreased from there, which means more people have more doubts. Now, to be clear, this is not the percentage of people who believe in God, which is much, much higher. We are talking about the people who believe in God and have total confidence in their beliefs. And let's be honest, even if you're religious, you should not have that kind of confidence. None of us should have that kind of confidence for just about anything. Does my mother love me? I mean, I think so, but even I wouldn't say I'm 100% certain, you know what I mean? But here's the amazing thing. You can see the numbers slowly dropping over the years, and according to the data we now have from 2021, that number has finally dipped below 50% for the first time ever. It's technically at 49.66% with a margin of error, but still, that means the majority of Americans have at least some doubts about God's existence, even if they still believe. And that sounds like good news, right? That seems to suggest that the country is heading in a more secular direction where there's room for honest skepticism and reasonable doubt. But at the same time, as we all know, Christian nationalism is as powerful as ever, with Congress and the courts very well represented by people who substitute the Bible for the Constitution. And it's still disturbing that nearly half of all Americans are absolutely certain in their religious beliefs. When you're 100% confident about something, you can't really even call it faith anymore, can you? It is quintessential American confidence, or arrogance, over something that can never be proven. It's an admission by some people that they will never be swayed by any amount of evidence. They firmly know something for which they have no proof, and there's apparently nothing you can say to change that. It's not like this happens the other way around, by the way. Do you remember how in Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, he had this spectrum of belief where a 1 meant you knew for a fact God existed, and a 7 meant you knew for a fact that God did not exist? He said in the book he would put himself at a 6, meaning he couldn't prove God did not exist, but he was confident enough to live his life as if God was not real. Makes sense. In subsequent interviews, Dawkins admitted, okay, it's probably a 6.9, but he never said 7, because certainty on a question like God's existence is crazy. And yet half the country is right there on the other side of the spectrum. They would all say they are 1s. There is a silver lining here, though, which is that the graph has gone down over the years. And that means a whole bunch of people, like tens of millions of people who used to be certain about their faith, now have at least some doubt. I mean, good for them. There's hope for everyone. So as troubling as it is to see half of all American adults cling so strongly to something so wrong, they may not actually be as stubborn as they seem. Maybe they don't even realize it, but we shouldn't give up on them. Maybe they just need that little seed of doubt, and maybe you can be the person who plants it. And all of this raises another question. What does it take to move people from total certainty about God to at least having some doubt about God? Well, since 1993, we've seen a rise in a little thing called the internet and Google, so people could raise questions about faith without feeling like anyone's judging them for it. And we've seen more people talking openly about being non religious and decreasing the stigma associated with it. And we've seen books and podcasts and YouTube videos, hello, featuring atheists who are hopefully not scary. I mean, some of them are, but not all of them. And we've also seen at least 2 Republican presidencies where Christian nationalists were given positions of power and ended up hurting a lot of people and alienating even a bunch of fellow believers. Not all Christians want to live in a country where the Bible governs everybody. I think that's worth repeating. The backlash to everything George W. Bush did in the name of Jesus was enormous. And I predict the long-term backlash to Donald Trump will be even larger, even if it doesn't look that way right now. But when you see the Supreme Court allowing religious bigotry to override civil rights and public health, and you see elected officials who legislate based on their interpretations of the Bible by throwing LGBTQ plus people under the bus and prohibiting women from controlling their own bodies, and you see candidates openly declaring that they will put their God first in office, I would think we will start to see a bigger shift away from at least organized religion. And that also means a shift away from religious certainty, as more people start equating God belief with right-wing bigotry and anti-intellectualism. If you didn't have doubts about God before, just look at what prominent vocal Christians are doing in God's name now. At this point, there's something wrong with you if you don't have doubts. In case you're wondering, by the way, this information comes from the General Social Survey, which takes place every 2 years and is used for all kinds of sociological studies. I will leave a link below if you want to dig into the numbers yourself. And special thanks to Christopher Ingram, a data journalist, who first pointed out this nugget of information at his website, The Y Axis. That link is below too.